Is it on? Yes, it is on. Oh my, it's been so long since I heard my voice over one of these things. Anyway, good morning. Speaking of lessons learned, I took 3 things away from Jaya. One is that apparently we are screwed, but there is hope. 2 is that we need to beg for more money and attention from management. And 3 is I have to feel a lot less sorry about swearing so much on stage. Thank you for that. So good morning, everybody. I am here to do about an hour of chat with you. And it's going to be a bit of a messy chat because lessons learned in my case are often a grab bag of things. Sorry if that goes a bit confusing for you. I am not an expert at Appsec. I only learned this stuff by just doing it with a few of my friends that are in the room over here. That's how it goes with lessons learned, right? And whether you call it Appsec, DevSecOps, security and DevOps, I don't care. What is it? Some of you might already have an idea about it. To me, basically, it is any group of people working together to help developers, DevOps people, to get their act together. Because I know it's a bit of a cliche, I'm generalizing here, but a lot of developers just, they want to get their stuff done, and they have this huge-ass backlog of things that's expected of them. And oh no, along come we to say, no, have you thought about security? And go like, have you seen my work, dude? So they don't, I'm trying not to make them handle this by themselves. We're here to help, basically. So who am I? Basically, I am Tess. I call myself a nerd for hire. I'm one of the 10% of the people who raised their hand that said, do you know which crypto you're using in your company? Because it's my job to help developers figure that stuff out. That's basically it. And I keep on learning, as hopefully all of you do. All right. So you might have heard this. The promise of DevOps at one point was, yeah, we're going to make software delivery and the running of it cheaper and faster and more efficient, right? And then somebody said, oh, yes, we're going to switch to DevSecOps, and we have yet another promise because we're not just going to do it faster and more efficient, we're also going to make it more secure, and it's going to be effortless. Well, maybe not so much. Hands up, who has seen this one before? The cost of fixing a software bug. I see a few people, there we go. Is it not a shame that it is all a fucking sham? Because I know everybody quotes this picture in their slide deck, especially when it's a consulting company selling an Appsec program. And I'm not ragging on the people who made this slide. I just picked this one because it has pretty colors instead of black and white. The problem with this little graph is that people get confused on who even the original source was. Some say, yes, it's NIST, like the graph did. No, NIST has nothing to do with it. Okay, IBM. No, also. Some rightfully claim Mr. Bohm, which kind of makes sense, but it's very old research. And the problem with the original research was also that, like, the sample size was n equals 10, and a few of the projects that he analyzed were internship projects. The cost of fixing bugs in an internship project. Okay. On some of my slides at the bottom, you might see links going like, hey, read this, read this. You can't click on this now, I know, but we'll make sure that you get the slides. This stuff over here is some great reading that tackles truthisms that we have in software development. So like the leprechauns of software engineering goes exactly into the graph, and the cone of, what was it again? Not the cone of shame, that's the cat game. Anyway, uncertainty. Anyway, my point is a lot of people try to sell application security or DevSecOps, whatever, with truthisms like these. And me, I just want to make this stuff work, dude. I don't want to have to use marketing to convince people. I know we kind of need it, but I'd rather be intellectually truthful than that I go like, hey, here's some marketing bullshit. And that is why I'm here to help you kind of prevent the mistakes that I did in the past. In Dutch, we have this nice proverb that says, kind of like a donkey will never trip on the same stone twice. Well, let me be your donkey. And then you can take my whole grab bag of stuff and apply it in your organization. So, very short summary of the people that I worked with, so you know what the heck, where did I even get these experiences. There's 2 banks and 1 government agency that I've been working with. One of them was very focused on a security champions program. You might have heard that term before, and it was a very nice approach that they did. The project was run by security people like me, like Danielle. It was the internal pen testers. They said, we want to teach people on how to prevent the stuff that we pick out in the pen test reports, because they were getting tired of just doing the same low-hanging fruits. I said, if we teach you how to fix this stuff, now I can hear myself, that's nice. Basically, yeah, security champions, teach developers how to prevent the stuff from pen test reports. And it was really cool. They actually had a 3-day in-house training where they went through the OWASP top 10 with developers, and then they taught them, this is what a vulnerability is. This is how it happens in your code. Let's exploit it together. They had labs. It was awesome. And then they also taught the developers, hey, this is how you fix it. And sure, that took a bit of a time commitment, but a lot of developers were very happy to have taken that class. Now, if you were really gutsy, you could say, hey, on day 4, I'm going to take an exam. They actually had an OSCP-like exam for developers, which is awesome. But then if you passed that exam, they said, well, okay, now you can do mini pen tests for other teams. And of course, you don't use those for auditing purposes. And the Nederlandse bank will still say, no, you were not pen tested. But still, if you need a go-live pen test, this was a great approach. And this program was so successful that it's now under the CISO department, where they said, hey, this looks good, let's apply this across the whole bank. So that was a fun one. The other bank, I was brought in with a few other people to just start an application security program from scratch. They said, we have this itch, we know we need to do something, we have no fucking clue how to do it, let's hire a few smart people and say, you do it. And they gave us all the freedom, so that is like a very luxurious position. They said, we have no idea about this, you're the people, go do it. And we took things very, very broadly. We actually made a whole maturity model where we said categories and you're doing this well in this category, etc. And teams could scale themselves on that. We did a lot of in-house trainings. Danny, how much is it now? I think 6 or 7 in total, different, basically. Short trainings, big trainings on different topics that developers struggle with. And then one important one is we were also a team that helped the pipeline team to build tools that help developers automatically do security checks when they're building new code. And then lots of social events. Those were very much fun. Just get people enthused about security and what we're doing. Now the fun part is inside that bank we also had a competitor. A challenger appears, as they say. As it goes in IT, a lot of people go like, I like what you're doing, but I'm going to do it differently. Well, so did these. They had a different part of the bank. They said, we're going to make our own program. Perfectly fine, that's fine. They got an external vendor. And in this case, the difference was where our team said, hey, come join us. We're doing fun stuff. Over that side in the bank, they said, you have to do this. Every team, go there. Take this training, do this assessment, and then you're done. And then the program quit again. So you might understand that I'm a bit less enthused about that one. And then finally, where I'm right now is I'm at a government agency, and as you can imagine, goals and things can get a bit of hazy, and then the startup was very tricky. Getting people enthused for a pilot is already hard at a bank, let alone in government. So we're still trying to get that started. Now, to quickly summarize these, all of these programs have one common issue, and that is they're run by external people. Most of these companies say, we don't have the acumen or the resources to do this ourselves, let's bring somebody in. And that's perfectly valid, don't worry. You might see that some teams said, everybody must take part, and others said, come, please join us, it's fun. There is no right approach, as you will see in a bit. And there we go. Now, what did they achieve after those years? Generally, out of all of the developers that we could have been reaching, I think we maybe hit less than 10%. Is that still valid, or did you go up? About there. That's nice. You're getting better than me. That's good. For example, we had a bank with 1,200 developers. If we spoke to 30 developers on a regular basis, we were happy. Those are the enthusiastic security champions. I mean, it's a start. One issue that a lot of them had was nobody actually measured KPIs. How well are we doing as application security team? I mean, it's great that they're paying me for this stuff, but sometimes management wants to see, are you achieving anything? So as a lead up to the very, very first important lesson for you, how many of you like to be voluntold? As in, you're a volunteer, you're a volunteer. Or who wants to do forced activities? I see very little hands, no masochists here. Who has time to just go like, I want to volunteer at work? Or will you managers say, oh, one of them, good. Then you're the manager, right? Maybe. So one of the first lessons that we got is a tricky one. The first one is compulsion doesn't work because people will resent you for it. If you say you're going to take that course, they're going to say, fine, just like my teenager over there. I love her. That's not an attack. On the other hand, trying to get people on board takes a lot of effort. If you're not forcing people, just trying to get them collected, it's going to take a lot of time. And there's no real solution. So evangelize, get out there, bribe people, spam people. You're going to feel like one of those spam bots and think people hate you. Don't worry, it's not that way. Because by far, you're not spammy. If by this point you say, yeah, I'm out of here, I don't want to hear any more of this, if there's just one more tip I can give you, this book is a very good summary of how to get an application security program started at your company. I bought it right after leaving the second bank, and I went like, read, and then I apped Danielle and landed, holy shit, guys, did we write this book? I checked the cover, no, our names is not on it. It was literally what we're learning. It even has a character called Dashing Danielle in there, so it is almost like we wrote it. This is highly recommended. And for those people who are still seated, this is where the grab bag starts of stuff that I learned. Out of you, who knows where to find your secure coding guidelines or your security requirements? That's one. Your developers need to have a list of stuff that need to program towards, right? There is one small minority. And that is already part of the bad news. You might have heard you must be this tall to ride the ride. It sucks at the Efteling. It sucks over here in Infosec as well. The bad news is that your organization needs to have some maturity before you can even start considering doing application security. If you have no guidelines to hold your developers to, how will they know what to do? And if you have no clear responsibilities saying the CISO does this, the security officer does this, the architect defined this, it's a mess. Guess what I'm in right now? So, having said that, when you're starting your application security program, manage expectations. If you're being brought on as an external vendor, they're going to say, I'm paying you for big money, I want to see results fast. They are not going to get them. The first year is just building traction. And I will bow to you in amazement if you can do it faster, because that means you're hella awesome. But in general, just the first year is you trying to get to grips. Who are the developers? Who's the architects? Where's all the standards? As I mentioned, initial interest with the developers will be tiny because they have very little time on their hands already. They're busy, big stack of work. And a lot of them, they dislike security, quotes unquotes. We'll get to why. So in your first year, just say, you know what, I'm keeping my scope limited. I am going to start up this Appsec program and I'm going to figure out who's who, get my name out there, maybe run a pilot program, and avoid getting KPIs shoved down your throat that say you must solve all X, Y, or Z, or you're going to fix 50% of all vulnerabilities. Because for starters, that is completely unrealistic. That's not how it works. So in your first year, look at processes in your company, in your environment, and see where you can fit the security parts into application development and deployment. And while you're browsing around, see what kind of tools your developers are using, or what kind of landscape you're working with. Is it private cloud, hybrid cloud? Do we have a pipeline system? Please say yes. And then maybe start figuring out what kind of trainings do you need in your company to help your developers get up to speed. And then if you're feeling very audacious, pick 1 or 2 teams, because by now you know who's who and you know who's interested in security. So go and say, hey, come on, join us. You can be the first ones. That's pretty awesome. As Ms. Rosenbaum wrote, or said actually, in a very cool presentation that I'm linking to here, it's very hard to define value for DevOps processes, DevSecOps processes, because as I said, they want KPIs for you. First up, instead of thinking about KPIs, define what you want your developers to start doing. What change do you want to see in your environment? And then figure out how to adjust the processes in the company to reinforce that behavior. And then also make sure that you get your architects and management on board with that, because otherwise they will fight you on it. And they say, no, that's not what we want. Dude, you hired me for this stuff. Yeah. So get them on board, convince them, redefine your processes. And then, figure out what does define value for your DevOps squads. We know these cliches: reliability, predictability, performance. That is taken from the viewpoint of the end user of a system. That is still the value that our DevOps teams are supposed to provide. If I am bol.com, my customers expect me to always just be available and to be able to use the shopping basket and put stuff in there, and using the basket shouldn't take 5 minutes. So that's from the endpoint of the user. And then if you look at your own assets, there are also confidentiality, integrity, availability, making sure my data stays secure. So from those points of views, you can start figuring out what are the actual KPIs that we want to apply. Then I was trying to get some master's thesis student to come work for me and figure out, hey, what are good metrics to measure application security success? Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And then we found on the web that a few years back, somebody actually kind of already did this research. And is it open for improvement? Every project always is. But Mr. Prates did a very good research where they said, well, these are some metrics that you can apply to define success in DevOps or DevSecOps. Lovely stuff. So in our case, you could say, hey, we could check our teams doing threat modeling. If not, do they know what it is? Maybe we should train them on it. Maybe we can guide them on it because it's hella fun. Did your teams do a business impact analysis? Again, I hope so. Otherwise, how do you know what's important? Are they using automated testing? Things like those. And now that I'm summing this up and it says, are you doing this? Are you doing that? It's starting to kind of like, it sounds like a security maturity model, right? So there is a boatload of those out there. Seriously, I was considering making the slide even larger. There is no right choice. What they all have in common is each of those models has domains and categories and metrics. Some of them get fucking confusing, like that one. There's even bigger ones. My takeaway is that there is... Oh, sorry, somebody taking a photograph. There you go. Yeah? Click. There you go. As I said, you'll get the slides online. So there is no right or wrong choice. Pick whatever model you like and then keep your audience in mind. Don't annoy or confuse people, and don't give them a huge ass list where they go like, how much time am I going to need to do this? So keep your audience in mind. With that second bank, we went for a pared down version of OWASP DSOM for the people who are curious, and then we added culture as an extra metric. Cool stuff, but figure it out. And then, as I said, teams are going to go like, how much time is this going to take? Well, they will ask, what's in it for me? Because to a DevOps team, this is just going to sound like more work. Here is the department of no with more bullshit that I got to take care of. Having more security findings never made anybody happy, I think, maybe. It just tells people your product is shit if you do it the wrong way. So what you could do is you could say, well, come up with incentives that make this stuff worth it for teams. As I said before, there was one security champions program where they said, if you pass our exam, you can do pen tests and other people can pen test you. It is a time saver on go live. And again, that's not for the auditing purposes, but as I said, some releases need to be pen tested before they go live. We have one new endpoint in our API. Fine. Team X can pen test you, you can do them. It's a time saver. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing something like that, you could also say, well, if you are X told to write the ride, we will give you priority in our queue of pen tests. Because you might be familiar that a lot of teams, they say, oh crap, right before we need to go live, we need to do a pen test. And then the department of pen test says, well, you're going to go at the bottom of this stack and it's this big. I hope you can wait 2 months. So maybe if you have DevOps squads that are this tall to write, I'm going to put you on top of the stack. You're going to get priority. And that is still not something that the actual developer will be happy about, but at least it is less annoying for the team. But speaking of things for the developer themselves, you could also say, hey, you have your annual development goals, right? So we could say that if you do a training with us and you do some other smart things, you could say, hey, boss, here's my annual achievements. Show me the money. I think I qualify for a pay raise. So that is also what you could try to convince people of. And the management might hate you for it, going like, no, hang on, you're giving away our money. And I say, yeah, that's right. You want more secure stuff? So do it. Cool. That's about it for the organizational stuff. People basically our most important asset, as far as I'm concerned. Companies will say, no, that's the bank accounts and data. I say people. Out of all of you, whose team has undergone pen tests? That's a surprisingly low amount. Do companies not get pen tested these days? I thought it was 2023. Okay. So splitting on that, hands up again, who was it again? How many of the people who have undergone pen tests said, yes, this is something I can work with? I got value out of this. That's one. Good for you. Oh, there's a lot of people. That's very good for you. Because it doesn't, I see somebody going like, it's not always that good. So for us in security, we need to keep in mind that the developers that we're working with, the application that we're testing, it's made by real people. We are not here to say, this is shit, that's garbage, fix it. That's not what we're here for. We're here to train, to help people understand how to improve their work. Don't offer problems. Stop calling their babies ugly, because that is kind of what we're doing. Speaking of, Bronwyn Aker did a great talk called Why Developers Hate Information Security. That's us. Developers hate me and Danielle. How do we get rid of the hate? By treating them like people. We're here to teach, to guide, to help, not to say that's garbage. And that might be a bit of a change for us as our culture. Now, speaking of culture change, you might have heard culture change is like turning a huge ass freighter. Now, we don't all of us have one of these, so we can't just say flip culture change. No, culture change is hella hard. It's actually one of the hardest things that you're going to have to be doing with DevSecOps or Appsec. I see somebody nodding like, yeah, I've been there. I feel your pain. It's not a fun message to give, but the most important thing that we learned so far is that unless you have the highest level of management actually committing to culture change, it's not going to happen. And when I say committing, I mean, here's this example. we have had our C-suite saying, security is one of our top priorities for 2023. And I go like, okay, what are the top priorities? Here's a PowerPoint with 7 top priorities that all of our development teams need to keep in mind. And I'm going like, dude, then nothing is a top priority. It's hollow words. You're not giving us anything. So unless you manage to actually convince the highest of highest people in your, money flows down, so the source of money, convince them that you need to do this and they promise to do it, and they change policy, and then they tell everybody. One of the key points of ISO 27K implementations, you don't just change policy, you tell everybody and make sure that they get tested on it. That's this. Again, your management needs to say, yes, we will commit, we will change, and we will tell, and we will test people on this. Otherwise, screw it, we're going to go gorilla. Not the monkey, but gorilla. Yeah. Meaning, we will just do the approach that Danielle and Leendert and I did, which is, come join us, we're doing fun stuff. Nobody's telling you you have to do this. You're going to be slowed down. And okay, you can work with that, but keep this in mind, because this is, again, reaching back to the managing of expectations and that initial year of startup. If management doesn't help you with this, that year is going to be lost, quote unquote. It's not lost, it's valuable, but they're going to go like, why aren't you hurrying up? So even if they say, yes, we're going to do this, things are going to break down, communication is going to break down, poor Kiki, your message will get stuck. And yes, a C-suite person will say, we have communicated this, everybody knows. Well, they don't talk to everybody. They only talk to like the business managers, and the business managers talk to the product owners and the business owners, and needs to be some trickle down, and it will get stuck. And then when you're here with a pen test, the development team goes like, where the hell did this come from? What's a security maturity model? Who are you even? And that happens. Communication breaks down. So just be prepared for it and figure out where did it go wrong, and then help management steer that again. Again, question time. Developers in the room, who has had an actual formal software development education? I went to school for software development. 1, 2, 3. A lot of people are just scared to raise their hands, or we have a weird crowd. That's okay. That's okay. So out of those, how many of you actually got classes on this is how you secure coding? That's 1, 2. Wow, things are improving since I was in school. That's good. Good. So you don't have to read the whole thing, but Jeff Mann is one of the podcasters in Pulse Security Weekly, and a few months ago he said, in grouchy man mode, grouchy old man mode, I don't know why Shift Left and DevSecOps is getting this all this attention, because we're supposed to be doing this for 30 years already. And I guess he's not wrong, right? Because yes, secure development should have been on the board for every team all the time. Now, back in my day, apparently it's changing, but back in my day, we were just taught, hey, here's C++, this is how you build something. Here's Java, this is how you build something. Input validation? Nah, we don't need that. What's an XSS? I don't care. So if schools are now teaching and including secure development, I'm happy, because that means I can start crossing off the first one. But on the other hand, you're also going to be stuck with legacy people. Hi, it's me. People who have been around in companies for a long while, and they will go, yes, but this is how we've done it all the time. Why am I going to change now? And again, that is culture change that you're going to have to fight against. Try to convince people, and either you or you say, hey, here's fun stuff, and convince them. One of the things that you are going to need is training, upskilling people. And you could do in-house trainings, because after you've gotten to know your development teams a bit, you can say, hey, here's a skill gap, there's a skill gap, here's a void that we need to fill, or here's a topic that developers have a lot of questions about. Well, we could see if there's like a commercial training. Perfectly fine. I mean, every company's got money to spend on training. On the other hand, you could do in-house trainings, because it has been shown that colleagues have an easier time taking lessons from other colleagues instead of yet another hired suit from outside. So yeah, fight for training budget, either your in-house or vendor, and then get people trained, and they will say, but I don't have the time. Yes, you do. Wait, was that 40 minutes already? Wow. Okay, I need to pick it up actually. You might hear seniors and mediors go like, we are understaffed, we need more people. And then juniors say, nobody will give me a chance. I have, unfortunately, a few of my students going like, I've had all of this training. Why will nobody bleeping hire me? Naomi Buckwalter has been advocating the dirty secret about getting into information security. So in her advocacy, she's been doing some research, and out of 1,000 job listings that she went into and looked at, now the letters will be tiny for the ones in the back, but it says, what kind of ranking are people hiring for? And for you on the top right, on the left, there's executive, then there's director, and there's senior, media, and then there's entry level and intern. So out of 1,000 positions, less than a tiny bit more than 10% was for entry level, and everybody else said, we need seniors. No, you fucking don't. No, you don't. Because information security, on the one hand, doesn't have to be this hard. It isn't, I'm sorry. And you can definitely just start training people up to what you need. So train the next generation of professionals. Stop being so scared about hiring a junior. And then say, hey, career switchers, come here. Hey, you're fresh out of school, come here. We will teach you the stuff you need to know. Not just for developers, but also for the pen testers. So you got to start somewhere. And then when you have done that, celebrate successes. Again, back to the social events that I really, really like. If anybody does anything really cool, like, hey, this team, they cleared 10 pen test findings. Huzzah, put it on the internet, put it on Mattermost or Slack. For all I care, make a nice little trophy going like, I fixed 10 pen test findings. I don't care. Just celebrate it, because that seeing other people have fun and success makes people curious, going like, well, you know, maybe we should also look into this. Heck, over at the second bank again, we had an award show with the Cybersecurity Month in October. They actually had an award show rewarding different teams in different categories. We got like nice trophies and other goodies and saying, hey, whole company, these people did cool stuff. And yes, you can look for security champions and see if you can start training them. You will find some companies on their website saying, yes, here's our success story, and they're going to make it look so easy. Unfortunately, it's not, because of the reasons that I mentioned before. Initial interest will be tiny. People will say, I'm already overworked. But if you can find those tiny little gems among developers going like, yeah, I like hacking, just grab them, put them in a network, have a chat group for all I care, build a community where you say, hey, these are the people who like security. Stick them together, because then they can bounce ideas of each other. If we as a team are doing some cool new stuff, tell them first. If we've got new tools for the pipelines, we say, hey, you want to test something cool? See this little trick. And then final chapter, technology. But why is this last? And spoiler, it's also the smallest, because we're in tech. Don't we love tech? Well, culture change is about the people and the organization, not about tech. So there's a few things that I think you need. One of them is CI/CD pipelines, and not the pipelines you smoke, but the ones that you build your software with. If you don't have this already, God help you. I don't know how you're deploying your applications, but especially with the security testing, automation is key. Get in there, work with the pipeline team, offer ready-made templates for your DevOps teams to use. Saying, hey, I've got an Azure pipeline template here that does your static analysis check, your software composition. It does, heck, you might include Renovate to automatically upgrade dependencies. And your teams go like, what? You got that? Let me see some of that. So prepare that for them. Oh, already covered that. Sometimes you might have to pick new tools to add to the tool chain. That's perfectly fine. But then be sure to not introduce shadow IT. We hate it when DevOps teams introduce shadow IT, so we should try not to make ourselves guilty of the same thing. Work with the architects, work with management to not just go at it alone, but also try to prevent death by committee. And then I think the final technical thing that I'm on is legacy stuff. Halloween, scary story, legacy stuff. When you find legacy applications, right now where I am, we have software that dates back 10 to 15 years. That's not fun. And they said, well, it's running, I'm not touching it. This works, why should I fix it? So, and then we as security might think, come on, how hard is it to just at least update your dependencies? You've got your pom.xml, just up the numbers, dude. Unfortunately, no, that might break things. You've got your package.json requirements for Python. No, you can't just flip those numbers, unfortunately. It might end up breaking the application. Again, that takes time. This takes it back to being empathetic with your colleagues, have some understanding of their job and how hard their job is, and then they might also work with you and go like, okay, fine, let's do this. And yeah, that's the tech part. And within the 5 minutes that you were flagging, in closing, out of the whole grab bag so far, if you take 3 things away, make sure that when you're hired to do Appsec, have clear expectations and manage these. And then make sure you get the full commitment. Because otherwise, as I said, guerrilla mode, which is also fun. And then just make friends, pull up. Pull up is the opposite of kicking down. Going like, no, I'm protecting my position, I'm gatekeeping. Don't do that. Pull people up, lift them up, have fun together. Empathize. And on that bombshell, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tess. So,
I was going to say, you're going to have to repeat the first line that you said.
Sorry?
You're going to have to repeat the first line you said.
Oh, I said, thank you very much for this amazing topic. And, well, I am a manager, so I felt really like, okay, I have to do something. So what do you want to say to me as a manager? What is your takeaway for me and other managers or team leads in the room?
Well, I was going to say, it kind of depends on what you manage.
Red team.
Oh, they're good.
Yes, I know.
I was going no, that's not what I mean. I mean,
Thank you.
Okay. In general, so if you look at DevOps teams, they often have conflicting management. That is problem one. They have their line manager that actually pays them. And then they've got this product owner. And then there's maybe a business owner and somebody else. And all of them are telling them, you got to do this.
Yeah.
So fucking stop that.
Thank you for saying fucking stop that, because I will fucking stop doing this, and I will also do something like a ponage system for like when they pwn something, then we will have a party. Thank you for that.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, we will have some time for a Q&A. I will give the microphone to my colleague Jasmine, and then you can ask some questions. Are there any questions?
Are there?
You have some time to think about it, what you would like to ask.
Otherwise.
Or see, yes.
Oh, there's one.
Okay, thank you so much. My question is, this sounds more like a psychology job, or, you know, it doesn't sound very, it sounds technical, but it sounds as if you really need people skills.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And how do you manage that then? I mean...
You know, that is a bloody good point, and I'd never thought of it that way. Because technically, originally, I am 100% tech. I started out as a sysadmin, managing Unix systems. You're right, there is a whole lot of psychology at play. Danielle, make a note, we should bring a psychologist into our team. You're right. Change management, as in not the ITIL change management, but getting people to change, requires a special touch that we actually don't even have. So good point, and yes, you should try and bring that on board. Maybe just part-time or as a temporary consultant. Yeah. Nice one. Links. Oh, there's another one.
So speaking about people skills, we see that also with juniors, it's very important to identify what exactly they like. Once you find the sweet spot of the person who's new in security and they like that, they'll go all the way.
Yeah.
And those are the guys who grow from here to the sky. And shout out to Melvin, who's here somewhere. So that's the sweet spot. If you find their sweet spot, they'll do everything. Yep. That was the point I wanted to add.
Fully agree. Cool. There was another question, I think? Yes. Sorry, Kim, you're gonna... No, not Kim. She's over there. On your right. Stop, stop, stop. You've passed... Oh, there's another one. We keep on missing you. I'll just walk your way. No, just kidding.
So in one of your slides, you talked about bribing them, the developers.
Sorry?
The developers.
Come again, my ears.
Bribing.
Yes, what's up with bribing?
Any tips?
Oh, tips. If you're doing, well, actually, yes. So, as they call knowledge sessions or pizza sessions are one nice thing. If you just have free food, that entices people. I've done lunches. And this is not necessarily for training, but there was an incident that we needed to handle. I was trying to get like 10 people in the same room and all of them were busy. I said, I've got lunch. They all showed up. So a lot of people just like food. Or maybe I just like food and that is the primary way I bribe people. Promise them a good time. And maybe say, yes, I know we're taking an hour of your time, but I promise we're going to do something fun and not give you more shit down your throat.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yay, it's your turn.
Thank you. Oh, okay, sure. Thanks, Tess, so much for your really wonderful presentation. I think it was very universal. It very much was appealing. So I myself work as a legal advisor.
Oh.
And usually it's within my organizations, we have conversations that, it says like, okay, but legal has to look at this and legal has to look at the definition. And I say then, please don't make a legal advisor make definitions. It's up to the technical people usually. So let's operations do the talk because you have to walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah.
But my question for you is, so what as a legal advisor can I do? What trainings do I need to get in order to get a better understanding of these challenges?
I love that one.
Thanks.
That's a great question because, funnily enough, it is one that we currently struggle at my current organization. Because yes, we're now trying to teach developers about application security, but along comes the privacy officer or the legal team. I would disagree with you that your team should not have a hand in requirements. You definitely do. Absolutely. Good. So when it comes to what kind of training you would need, I think you could actually keep it a bit minimal as long as you can... Actually, we're back to the lady next to you with the psychology question. If you manage to translate, because that is the hardest thing, if you translate your legalese into something that developers can work with, that is the hard part that is often missing. So you might say, here's GDPR, and here's like PCI DSS and all the other regulatory stuff, and a developer will say, yeah, but what you want me to do? It doesn't say which config I need or how do I need to build my software. So if you can try to bridge that gap, that is going to be so bloody useful.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much for letting me ask one more question.
Yeah.
So the challenges that we work with now is the implementation of NIS2, for example, which says things need to be secure, things need to be secure, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So what I would like to know is what my understanding would enlarge with how that works. So that is often the missing link. Like you would like to have a developer who speaks legal speak and the other way around. And following Jayla Bailu this morning, I would like to say, how do I do as a league at the other way around?
Sorry, how can you what?
So what can I do in order to bridge that gap?
Right. Assuming that you do not have developers who speak legalese and no legal people who speak dev, form your tiny special interest group or a community where you say, hey, I need some smart people. And maybe you ask a few team leads or product owners, go like, could I borrow a few of your people? And then we can just work on this and puzzle and figure things out. What are the best requirements? Maybe grab an architect because they like sticking their noses into other people's business as well. I guess, I can't believe I'm saying the word task force, but yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah. Cool. I think.
Any other questions?
Cool.
Okay, I will do it without a microphone because it's very loud voice. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.